Hello, mathematicians, and welcome to 4.6 One-Step Equations, Part 2. Our essential question is the same as it was in Part 1. How do we solve one-step equations algebraically? Go ahead and grab your needed supplies, your writing utensil, math notebook, a growth mindset, and some determination as we continue learning how to solve one-step equations algebraically. In Part 1, one of the biggest questions that you all had was, how do I solve problems when there's multiplying and dividing? Will I ever multiply and divide? When will I multiply and divide? And so that's exactly what we're going to be working on in Part 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at this equation. 2m equals 14. The thing about solving equations with multiplying and dividing is that it's actually very, very similar to adding and subtracting in that you do the opposite. So when we had addition problems, we did the opposite and subtracted. When we had subtraction problems, we did the opposite and added. So now we have a multiplication problem. What's the opposite of multiplying? You got it, dividing. So I have 2m. If I divide that by 2, that gives me 1m, which is exactly what I want because remember, we're trying to isolate that variable or get it all by itself. But now things aren't the same, you guessed it, and so we're going to go to the other side of our equal sign and do the same. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So m is 7. I can plug that back in. 2 times m, or 2 times 7, does in fact equal 14. Let's look at our next problem. 5z equals 60. 5 times what is 60? So this is a multiplication problem. We're going to do the opposite and do some division. So 5 divided by 5 gives me 1, which is 1z. I don't have to write the 1. And then do the same thing to the other side. 60 divided by 5 is 12, so z is 12. And our last multiplication example here is 8p equals 32. 8 times something equals 32. We're going to undo that multiplication with some division. We're going to do the inverse, the opposite. 8 divided by 8 is 1p. We have to go to the other side of our equal sign and do the same to keep everything balanced. 32 divided by 8 is 4, so p is 4. I can plug that back in and try it. 8 times 4 is in fact 32. All right, mathematicians, go ahead and pause the video. Try the next 3 in your notes on your own. Remember to show your steps and to solve it algebraically. All right, here is what I hope that you came up with. I hope that you remember to show all of your steps and solve those algebraically. Let's go ahead and now look at the last kind of problem we're going to look at this year, and that for one-step equations, that is. And let's do some division. So k divided by 2 equals 4. What divided by 2 equals 4? Well, we've been doing the opposite. What's the opposite of division? You got it, multiplication. We're going to multiply by 2. Now, let me just kind of show you how this works. How many k's do we have up there? 1. And so there's an imaginary 1 there. And then when you have a whole number and you want to write that as a fraction, you put it over 1. And so what I'm really doing, if you'll kind of watch my mouse here, circling this 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 is the same as 1 whole. And so that gives me 1k. Again, it was 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 is 1 whole, or 1k. Now to keep everything balanced, I'm going to go to the other side and multiply by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. I can go plug that in and check it. 8 divided by 2 is in fact 4. All right, our next problem, h divided by 5 is 10. Again, this is division. We're going to do the opposite and multiply. So we're going to multiply this side by 5, and just so you can kind of see that again, there's a 1 by that h and a 1 under the 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 over 5 is 1 whole, or 1h, which is what we want. And then go to the other side and do the same. 10 times 5 is 50. Check it. 50 divided by 5 is in fact 10. Last division problem for us to do together here. D divided by 9 is 3. We're going to do the opposite and multiply by 9. Again, those 1s are there. That's going to give me 1d. Go to the other side. 3 times 9 is 27, so D is 27. Mathematicians, it's now time for you to pause and try again, showing your steps solving it algebraically, and then come back and check your work. All right, here is what you should have come up with. Make sure those steps are shown algebraically. Mathematicians, that is the end of 4.6 one-step equations part 2. You now know how to solve equations algebraically that involve adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. What a fabulous, fabulous start to all the things you're going to learn in algebra over your math careers. Let me go ahead and give that shout out, as always, to Amy Grosbeck, Amanda Newsom, and Wright Lovely for their amazing fonts and clip arts. Mathematicians, go forth and be amazing.